You know, in 1 Samuel chapter 35, the Bible talks about casting not your stones where you'll reap the fruit. For if you do this, you won't see the treasures above. And you know, in my life, it's really been a story about not so much stones as it is friendships. And so like I shouldn't cast not my friends into the fire, because I'll lose them. I'll lose them as friends. And nobody wants to lose friends. So like from that we take like you need to reap the fruit from your friendships and not just cast them aside like in a fire. Because if you'll do this, then well, you won't have very many friends at all. Yes. My good friend, my heterosexual life mate, Jeremy Maupin, once told me, he said, love is fleeting, but the knowledge that you can gain from school will last forever. And you know, it really made me think about times in my life where I've gone after something that I've really desired, like on my birthday, I had this cake. It was shaped like a rabbit. It was shaped like a rabbit. It was delicious. And like my friends were like, "Oh, I want a piece of that cake," and I was like, "No, forget you, dude. That's my cake." So, like in that sense, like the cake didn't last for a long time, so it was fleeting. But in another sense, like the knowledge that I gained from that encounter, you know, it stayed with me forever, and I'll use it. I'll use it, you know, infinite possibilities. So just think about that. Think about what you can gain from those situations.
You know, Gregory Theodore Bowles once told me, if you can climb a mountain, you can climb anything. And that's kind of the way I've lived my life ever since then. I'm like, hey, man, I've never climbed mountains, but I've climbed a lot of stuff. And that makes me think I could climb a mountain. And if I can climb a mountain, well, I can climb anything. And if I can climb anything, you can get an A on that test next week.
Oh, hey. The other day I was eating lunch with my good friend and mentors, Clarence Rice, and Gregory Theodore Bowles. And we were talking about how in the Christian walk, it's sometimes hard to accept others and really love them for who they are. And the whole time I was just looking down at my steak and I'm like, man, this steak is dry. This is really dry. And so like they're talking and I'm just like, you know what? You're talking about love, but I'm having a real hard time loving whoever cooked this steak because it's dry. And I'm not going to eat a dry steak. I like it medium rare. Medium rare to rare. All right? I like the blood, you know, it's like seeping off of it, where it's just like all in your mouth, like that. And Greg and Kyle were just like, dude, you know, you gotta calm down. You know, you gotta love this cook for who they are. And I was like, no, forget that. I want the steak is like the Sahara in my mind. Like say like Sahara over here, and then we got like Pacific Ocean is where I want to be. But I'm not there. I'm on the opposite side of the world where the Sahara is eating this steak and it's dry. And I'm like, struggles like that in my mind are just like the times where you really just need to give it all. And just be like, God, if you can make this steak wet and moist and succulent and delicious, then I'll love that waiter, that cook. If not, then in Paul's third letter to Timothy, he recounts the tale of when he was locked in prison in Macedonia. And the Macedonians were a savage culture. And when they talked, they were very harsh. They're very brutal with their words. And so Paul, and I think Barnabas was with him in prison at the time, decided to have a breakout plan. They decided to break out, and what they did is back then the jails were made of like half pin barrel cages, you know. Like, so kind of like the movie Pirates of the Caribbean, the first one, the best one. So in that time, they decided they got the wood, they got a plank of wood that was in the corner cell next to next to this guy, Richardson, who they didn't like and they didn't know. He wasn't a Christian, but later on, we found out in the story he became a Christian. And they wedged it up under Richardson's back, Paul and Barnabas, and they pried the jail cell open, and it fell open. And it's a lesson that teaches us about how God can use even people who are not of the faith to accomplish His goals and His plans. And so, from this lesson, I think it teaches us a lot about love and a lot about how we can care for others even when we don't do things that they may like. Woo! Oh man, people have always tried to peg me as a rule breaker. It's not so much that I break rules, it's that I break things that I don't know are rules. And so, in essence, I'm not breaking anything at all. And if you think about it, if I was actually going to break a rule, then I'd have to physically break something. And I've never broken anything while I've been breaking a rule. And so, for me, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And the second half of it is that, hey, guys are trying to talk. The second half of it is that, if they don't tell me beforehand that it's a rule, then however can I break it? Makes me think about, the story of Paul when he was with his apostles. And he asked them, he said, hey, yea, does any of you not follow the law, that he should be condemned to death? And since I haven't died breaking any rule, then I just don't think that applies to me.